I supposed to come up behind that? And yes. So part of the problem here is that he knows all the ins and outs of this, right? So, I can't do something without him knowing, okay, that checks off, that's good. But so he knew some of what I was going to share with you all today, and he kind of set that up and stole some of it. And so just heads up, if you hear me say that, he stole it from me. No, I'm just kidding. But I want to first tell you all thank you for joining us yet again. This is the 4th annual Intentional Living High Tea, and it is getting better and better each year. I am so attached to this room because it just sets the ambiance. But when and if we have to move out of this, we will. But what I wanted to do is kind of give you a little insight on the theme for this year, because every year there's a different theme. And as you've already heard, the arrival is the theme for this year. And you all have already arrived, so I think you may have already got that in your bag, in your back pocket. But there's a little more to that, right? And my husband mentioned always be arriving. And I want to make sure that we emphasize that, because there's never just one stop in life. And that was really why I wanted to attach that theme this year, because I wanted to remind you all, and even myself, for you to not give up. For you to not just get to a point and say, I'm content, I'm good, and I have arrived, because we're going to continue to arrive. So in the book Becoming, which is a great segue into what I'll be talking about, and everybody knows who wrote Becoming, right? Okay. Had to make sure I was in the right room. So earlier on in the book, Michelle mentioned that one thing that she does not like is the fact that people often ask youngsters, kids, or whenever we're young, what do you want to be when you grow up? But the challenge is that there's never just that one thing that you're going to be when you grow up. We're ever evolving. We're always becoming. And so that's why, again, I wanted to attach the arrival to this, because I want you to always be arriving, to always be becoming. And not only for you, but for those that you interact with, those that you impact, and so on and so forth. You may say, you know what, I don't have a platform, I don't do this, I don't do that. But you interact with people, whether it be at church, at home, or whatever it is, you should always be arriving. So y'all on the same page with me so far? And you remember you got those pearls. So what are you supposed to do with those pearls? Okay, let me make sure I see some clutching and going on, okay? So as we progress, I want to get into a couple stories, and I want to share those with you. So there's a man who was stranded out in the middle of a sea. So when I say stranded, just imagine me being in the middle of the sea right here, and all I look around and see is water. So I'm panicking, wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this water to land? So immediately I start to panic, or he starts to panic. And he says, this panic is not helping, so what can I do next? So from there, he starts to pray. As he's praying, his faith continues to build, and he starts to think, there's a chance that I'm going to be rescued. So as that faith begins to build, and he calms a little bit, but still stranded in the middle of this water, a boat comes by. As the boat strolls on by, the boat stops. The people on the boat throws out a rope and says, hey, grab the rope. I want to save you. And he says, you know what? I'm so afraid to grab that rope because it just may tear my hands. I just don't want to bleed. I'm already in the water, and that's just a little extra. So no, and I prayed about it, so just keep going. So the boat says, okay, well, have fun. I'm out. The boat goes on. He's still stranded. And then comes some folks on jet skis. And they say, hey, we got some room. You want to jump on the back of this jet ski? You know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep my balance on there. I'm just a little afraid about that too. So God is coming. He's going to get this for me. I already prayed about this. I got the faith, and it's going to happen. So they went on. Lastly, a helicopter came through and dropped down a ladder. When they dropped the ladder, he then said, I'm afraid of heights. I am not climbing that ladder to get out of this water. So in that story, you'll see that there were many different opportunities that were faced, that were provided, that were put forth in front of this person that's stranded out in the middle of the sea.
Say that.
And as he continued to pray and his faith would continue to build, one thing that didn't build was his courage and his discernment to clutch, I hear it in the back. That clutch has some voice to it. I love it. But as his courage began to build and his faith began to build, he still didn't have enough courage or faith to receive the fact that everything that I had been praying for was right there. It came 3 times, as I usually say, thrice. Came through thrice. And I denied it each time. So the question I want to ask you is, are you ready? Because what? He ain't ready. So let me hear y'all say, he ain't ready.
He ain't ready.
He ain't ready. But y'all are going to be ready for this next arrival. But in order to be ready for that next arrival, you have to be willing to recognize when that jet ski comes by, when that boat comes by, or when that helicopter drops that ladder. And we can't be afraid to make the next step. So as we talk about you being ready, there are some other steps to this thing. It ain't always easy. It ain't always easy. So do you know how? You know, despite the fact of all the money I've spent on education, whether it be traditional education, certifications, this table over here like, girl, keep going, because yeah, we know. That's time. But most importantly, there's money. So despite all of that and all of those expenses, I hear some clutching going on over. Okay, there we go. You looking like you hanging yourself, though. No. She said that was just too much, all that money going to that education. Nevertheless, you know, for me, as I was going through that journey of, you know, the education, the certifications and everything, not always did I know exactly what I wanted to do. But I knew that those certain things would help me along the journey to get to a point of arrival. One thing I also knew is that I wanted to start a business, but I didn't always know how. I didn't always know the what. However, going back to what my husband mentioned earlier, I'm a quick starter. So you just give me a couple things and I'm going to research it. Oh, let me get that started, because you know what? That next step is going to appear.
Sure.
So that's what I did. Despite the fact that I already had a full-time job, I may have already been in school, because a lot of the times I was doing both. Parallelpreneurship or parallel whatever ship you got going on. Sometimes you got to do all that together to make it work, right? Because time is of the essence and we don't get that back. So at that point, I'm going to school, starting a business, and I had about 2 or 3 businesses then too. But I started with one. The goal is to start with one, pimp that out, and then you multiply that. So, indeed, that was that clutching. So, at the point of doing all that, I had those businesses, but I realized that those weren't the particular businesses that I wanted to continue with. But in doing so, I saw some pieces of each of those businesses that I enjoyed. So I was like, how about I mesh that together and make that a situation? And that's how the coaching and speaking came about, right? And again, follow with me, because this is going somewhere. Don't fall asleep, because y'all already ate. I know how that goes. I'm watching. So then we get to that point, and I realize that that's what I want to do. But again, there's the how. So despite all of the money I already spent, all of the time I already spent on the education, I had to go to my husband and say, you know what? So I was just thinking, how about I start this other business, because I really know what it is that I want to do now. I've tested this thing out, that thing out, and I'm going to mesh that together. But what I am is very resourceful. So after identifying that, I also found other people that were already doing it, but not just doing it, but they were killing it in the game. Killing the game. Disrupting the industry. So when I found those people, I said I need to get with that person to learn exactly how it is that they implemented that. That means I had to let go of pride. That means I had to be willing to invest in myself, because I'm not going to go to somebody and expect them to teach me something without me investing in what it is that they provide. So that's why I had to go Mr. Dorsey and say, hey, so I might need a little more coins from this. Y'all know we already set the coins aside and did this and that. But I need some more money to do this. Can I get the approval? Can I get that sign off? And eventually, he was convinced, and so I did just that. So in essence, the arrival on this piece is really pointing at the fact that if you don't know, don't change your mind, don't stall, and don't say that you can't do it just because you don't know. There's somebody out there that has done what you've done or what you want to do. But I always connect with somebody that's killing the game, that's done it already, and that can do it even better, like by teaching you how to implement that in your life. So I know in the first story we talked about the man in the sea and we said he ain't ready. This time we talked about me. Let me hear you say she wasn't ready.
She wasn't ready.
Okay. But clutch. Okay. She was not ready at that time. But she did what she needed to do, she being me, did what she needed to do to get where she wanted to get to that plan B, right? Now, oftentimes we're a little spoiled now because we can easily enter an address into our devices, whichever one you choose that day. And you want to go to point B. You type that address in and you just going along your journey, right? Along that journey, you may have some detours. It may be some construction. It may be some traffic. It may be something. But Siri, with her nice voice, is going to let you know up ahead is an accident. You might want a detour. And then when you get to point B, she's going to say, you've arrived at your destination. And you can trust that thing because you can look around and see I made it to the west and that's where I was trying to go. Unfortunately, in life, we don't have Siri telling us, girl, you have arrived at your location. And this is where it's important for you to start this journey knowing exactly where it is that you want to arrive at in your life so that you yourself can tell yourself, this is where I've arrived. You have arrived at your destination. Okay? Y'all following with me?
Yes.
We're almost there, so don't go to sleep on me. Now, can you create capacity? Anybody know what that means? Creating capacity. Yes? Okay. You may know what it means, but are you doing it? So I mentioned earlier the parallelpreneurship, so I had many things going on at the same time, still do, but it really takes you putting forth effort to create the capacity to implement those things in your life that you truly want to obtain, achieve, and arrive at. And that may mean reassessing the things that you've already committed to. Because sometimes we say yes just because so-and-so asked. Or we say yes because we've always done it. And so, as I said that, something I didn't even think or plan to say popped in my mind. And that is respecting the fact that my mom, she is a caregiver now. And she usually has her hand all in my event. She helps me. She's my right-hand woman, still is. This year, she had to create the capacity. And she's like, I can't do as much as I did before. And so that's what we have to do in our lives at certain points with all the many things that we have going on. Make the decision to say, I enjoy that, or I don't. And I need to do X, Y, and Z in order to continue my life in a healthy state. Because self-care matters, right? So when you're creating that capacity, for me, balancing those many different things, I had to truly get intentional about how I implemented and what I implemented. And we talk about intentionality. It's not acting. It's really having a plan. But what are you going to do after that plan? Because even then, the plan could start and things just switch up on you. We had a whole plan for today. I had a whole vision for these tables and everything. Amira looking at me like, girl, I know how it is. But you show up and it's like, wait, this is not what we talked about. We got to get some things situated around here. This is, we have to make some plan Bs. So that's the other thing we have to consider as we go through life in this journey, as we're approaching the arrival. Are we really intentional? Do we have that plan? Do we have that backup? What can we do to ensure that we get to that place? It may not look the way that we thought it would, but as long as we get there, and even along the journey, you may say, hey, that's where I thought I wanted to go, but I actually need to go to the left. Okay, so with all that being said, I have to ask you one last question. Are you able to create capacity? So say this with me. after I recite it the first time, right? I'm creating capacity.
I'm creating capacity.
And I hope you meant that, because it's really, truly important to not only your self-care, but also important to you arriving at that next stage, so that you can hear Siri, imaginatively, saying you have arrived at your destination. So, I've talked about a couple things. I've asked you, are you ready? I asked the man in the water, but now I'm asking you, are you ready? And then, do you know how? Whatever that thing is that you're ready to receive, whatever that thing is that you're ready to arrive at, do you know how to get there? And if not, why haven't you sought out the help that you need to get there? And then, do you have time? Because most of us will say we don't have time. But you break that 24 hours up in a day, I'm just saying. She said clutching again. You got a certain amount of hours you're supposed to spend sleeping, a certain amount of hours for leisure, and then you got some other hours for work. Some of us sleeping too much. Some of us working too much. So we got to create the capacity. So if it's something that you truly want in your life, you'll find a way to make that happen in your life. So, I want to ask you, does this describe you? As we go through, we're wrapping up now. But do you have any alignment with any of this, right? Do you want to start a business, but you have not yet started a business, right? You want to be a business owner, or either you started it and you started it on rocky grounds. And then, do you know what you want to start? Do you know what type of business? Like we asked earlier, as I was talking through those examples, you have to know exactly what it is. And I talked about my story of how I had to figure out what it was. And are you ready to start a business now? And then you need a solid foundation for your business. Again, if it's already started and it's a little rocky, there's an opportunity to rebuild. And then if you're needing guidance or support through the process, and have time to dedicate to this, or you can create the time. Does anybody feel like this describes you? Any of these bullets? I hear some pearls clutching a little bit and some Don't be scared. But this is how I can help. If any of those things that I described briefly just before this slide apply to you, this is how I can help. I work in synergy with you to establish a solid business foundation, and I use a solid roadmap that's easy to implement in your lives. I'll help you optimize your time and then also create capacity. We talked about that, and we talked about how I had to do it myself. So I wanted to share an opportunity with you. I can't just come before you, give you a lot of talk, and not give you an opportunity to work with me or wait for me to help you through this, because again, every year the T is intentional, hence the title, Intentional Living. So I want you to walk away with opportunities to work with me or any of the speakers that I have. And I do have a panel coming up a little later, so just stay tuned for that. But in this particular program that I've developed just for you guys that are here in this room, if you want to establish a business with sustainable resources, here is what will be included in this package that you are able to secure today. And it's 2 private one-on-one sessions with me. Access to 2 different courses online, which means it's self-paced, right? So you can do it at your pace, but you still have to create the capacity to do the work. But we work together, and we have a Facebook group that's an accountability group, so you'll have all the documents and everything there visibly for you, and then other people that will hold you accountable. Regular Q&A calls, unlimited emails with me, and then 1-year access to those online courses. How does that sound so far? Good, good, okay. We're getting somewhere, slowly but surely. And so just to give you an idea of what it looks like, so these are the 2 courses. You have the Intentional Living Institute and the Bonafide Business Bootcamp. And then this is just a snapshot of how the group would look on Facebook. Okay? So this is a real deal thing. Some people can talk about it and not show it, so I'm just making sure you see the visual and you can associate it with it. But we have modules within each of those that are in alignment with creating your capacity, creating your solid business, right? And then also ensuring that your time is spent intentionally and that you can easily implement these things in your life and business. So, if you are ready to do just that, and if you are ready to work with me and you are in that sea, like the man I explained earlier in the first story, you're in that sea of information and you need somebody to come and help you come to shore with your business, then this is an opportunity for you to work with me. And if you sign up today, the payment is only $20 per month, and $20 today will get you in the class. Somebody said, I can afford that. Let's try that again. Somebody said, I can afford that. Okay, and I heard clutch, so we're on the same page, and I can proceed to give you what you need. The other option is $197 a year, right? So that's just actually the first year. So if you pay $197, you'll get the full access to this for the whole year. You just knocked out your payment, you're done. Or if it's more affordable for you, you can do $20 per month. Got me? Now, if you go to my website, it's not going to be $20 per month, and it's not going to be $197. Just FYI, if you'd like to go there right now, you can. So today, again, this is time sensitive. This is what you are offered. Now, I like to make sure that you get what you need. As I just said, I like to proceed to give you what you need. And therefore, if you do the subscription, you can cancel it at any time. So if you're paying $20 per month, just like you do with Ebony and all of them, if y'all still getting magazines, is that old? Okay. You can cancel at any time. And then you have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you do either of the courses. And that means, I want to be clear, the 30-day money-back guarantee is not that you pay your money and the 30 days, 29 days, you just say, girl, can I just get that back? I shouldn't have done that. But I want you to do the work. I want you to commit to you for those 30 days. I want you to show me that you've actually tried to implement these things and that you've talked to me when you got stuck and that this is just, I can't do this. It's not working out, right? So we're all clear on that? Limited time offer, I already said that, and I got 6 slots. Y'all follow me? Yes. Meredith's smiling. I love smiles. Clutch. So, with that, I want to leave you with the fact that I am, again, so elated to have all of you here. And I hope that something that I share with you was beneficial to you, not only encouraging you to be more intentional about your life, your love, your business, but also to arrive, to always be arriving, because it's never that one stop, right? We always looking to grow and evolve. However, at each point, make sure that you're celebrating yourself. Make sure that you're impacting somebody else. And make sure that you are leaving a mark to where your legacy will live on even beyond now. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to have a seat for a second as we transition into the panel. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we will be right back with you all. Thank you.